You've probably been hearing a lot about Zelle and are wondering how to open a Zelle account. Well, we were too, so we turned to Lynn Lawson to find out how. But Lynn, before we get started on how to open a Zelle account, why might you want to have a Zelle account?
Well, that is a good question. Yeah, I think Zelle is becoming more and more popular. The appeal overall is just it's fast and electronic way to make and receive payments. So for the payer, you don't have a check to write. You don't have to send it, provide it, hand deliver it, whatever you want to say. There's no waiting for the check to get cashed. And then as a payee, well, it just the money goes right into your bank account with Zelle, so you don't have to wait for a check to arrive and you don't have to deposit it. So very, very handy, very convenient.
A win-win on both sides.
I think so.
And one
Absolutely.
and one more from AP's standpoint, no unclaimed property.
Right? Right. As long
You
as
know?
you get the right information up front.
Right. Yeah. All right.
Which leads to your next question.
Right, right. She's getting ahead of the game, but
Yeah.
okay. So how do you actually open up a Zelle account?
Well, to get started, see if your bank or credit union, your financial institution, which we can abbreviate that FI, thousands of them offer Zelle right through their website or mobile app, or maybe both. It might be one, not the other. So if you log into the website and it does not show Zelle anywhere, go over to the mobile app. So you can get right into it. Next time you log into your FI's site or app, take a look around. It might even be promoted on the homepage. If not, go to something like transfer money menu and it might be one of the options listed there.
Mhm.
So, that part is definitely easy and the setup is also easy. You can just link your mobile number and or your email account. You specify which one or both that you want to use, as well as designate which account, if you have more than one with your financial institution, which account you want to use for your Zelle activity. Now, every financial institution might be a little different in this, but I know I even helped my 80-year-old mom get set up and she uses a different bank that I do. And still, it was the same easy process on just providing that little bit of information. And then if you happen to use a financial institution that does not offer Zelle, you can download a separate Zelle app. And then you would have to enroll an eligible debit card, a Visa or MasterCard, through that app. However, now it's my understanding that when you want to use Zelle, at least one of the two parties has to have Zelle through their financial institution. So you cannot have two people who both use the app. But things are always changing. So what we say today, of course, might be obsolete in another week, month, year.
Well, I know, Lynn, I deal with two different accounts, one for business, one for personal. And both of them, I think it's at the online bill pay option. It will be, do you want to open up a Zelle account? There's just a little link right there. And one of them, and I don't remember which one, every time I enter something that I want to use the bill pay for, they pop up and say, are you sure you don't want to use Zelle? And I'm like, yes, I'm sure.
And why not, Mary? No, that's a different question. Maybe a different podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe the next question, maybe you'll help me with this. So is it any different for a business or an individual?
no, not really. I mean, I set up both my personal email with my personal banking account as well as my business email with my small business account. So that's pretty easy. Now, again, every FI financial institution might be a little bit different, but I believe, at least through my bank, they specifically say that you cannot be using Zelle with a commercial account. So
Okay.
consumer is okay and small business is okay, but not a consumer account.
You
But
mean
same
not a business
process.
account, a commercial account?
Commercial account, correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I've got some more questions on the nitty-gritty of this, Lynn, but I just realized now that I didn't introduce either of us. I'm Mary Schaefer, founder of AP Now, where we focus on all issues related to AP and payments. And that's why I'm pleased to have Lynn Lawson with us, founder of Recharged Education. We turn to her anytime we have questions or we need a talk or an article on P cards, commercial cards. And now she's also doing all the Zelle stuff for us. So then, Lynn, you must have an existing bank account to open a Zelle account. And if not, then you download the app.
Well, you first need an eligible account no matter what. So if you are going through your financial institution, your bank, credit union, you need to have an eligible funding or deposit account. Now, as I pointed out, if you end up having to use the app because your FI doesn't offer it, then you still would need to have an eligible debit card to link for that purpose. And then I should point out that technically it's not really opening a Zelle account. It is really just enrolling to use Zelle. So it's not like it's a
Okay.
separate account per se. You're
Okay.
using your own bank accounts for that activity.
So then there's no background check or no check of your financials or anything like that. Kind of like when you get a credit card, you just enroll to use the app as you would any other app.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm much more familiar with using Zelle through my FI versus the separate app, of course,
Mhm.
because that's just the way I do it. But your bank, your credit union already know who you are. You're already established. They've got your contact information.
Right.
So if Mary, you were to actually take your bank up
Can you tell
on
she's been nagging me about this?
exactly. If you did pursue Zelle, you would see that your contact information would be listed. And if you still had, for example, a landline, they would maybe show it, but it wouldn't be possible to connect that. It has to be a mobile number and or an email that you can get all connected for that Zelle activity.
So I guess then what you do have to have is either an email account or a cell phone.
Correct.
Okay. Which I don't want to say everybody does because I guess there are people who don't. Not that I know. Okay.
They wouldn't be using Zelle.
No, not using
It
that.
might be a
Yes,
99-year-old
okay.
person, but
Right.
yes. Okay.
All right. So then no documentation other than
Right.
having one of these accounts. All right.
Right. But during the setup process, I mean, certainly there might be there might be extra steps too. If you're newly embarking on this, I mean, you might have to key in your password or a PIN perhaps. You might get a confirmation, something, when you're first getting started. So I can't say it's absolutely nothing, but you're really not having to go through a long process. In fact, while helping my mom do this, I think it was less than 10 minutes.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
So very
That's
fast.
great. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Before we discuss when the money appears in your bank account, and I do want to talk about that because I think
Sure.
there might be some misconceptions out there, Lynn. I'd like to invite you to hit the like button or the thumbs up button for this broadcast with Lynn. We generally produce broadcasts about 3 times a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays are about AP and payment issues, and on Saturdays we share some videos about my newest obsession, Wordle. Now back to Zelle. Now,
Okay.
Lynn, when we first started talking about Zelle, which we've been doing for a while, it was always referred to as instant or real-time payments. And to me, a novice with this, or somebody who maybe is not as intimately aware of it as you are, that means kind of like it'll be there in a minute.
Maybe. Don't you love that vague answer? Well, yeah, when you start talking about instant or real-time payments, the idea is that the funds are available to the payee within a matter of minutes. But, again, all sorts of things can slow down the process. If someone is newly doing this, they're newly enrolling and then they turn around and try to make a payment right away, there might be a lag time. Similarly, if it's a new payee that someone is trying to pay, there's a lag. So if you're assuming that both parties are already enrolled and set up to use Zelle, including maybe they've each used it before in some manner, then I would say you should expect the transfer to happen within minutes. But it can get flagged in a financial institution system for whatever reason. And again, this is where every FI might be a little different. But it's fast, it's wonderful, and it didn't start out that way. So if anyone in your audience knew Zelle when it first came onto the scene, it wasn't rooted in that instant or real-time payment
Oh,
process. And that's just been within the last year or two that it's moved that direction.
oh, I did not know that. All righty. So now you recently had an experience, which led us to want to talk about payment timing. Can you just tell us a little bit about what happened and what maybe people can expect?
Well, yeah, and this is something where, um, well, I'll tell you what happened. So back to my 80-year-old mom, she initiated a payment to me on Saturday night, and I immediately got the text notification because through my bank, I'm signed up to get all sorts of notifications on different types of activity, and I was like, great, okay, it was something I was expecting, and then when I was looking at my bank accounts Monday morning. I saw that it was sitting there in a pending status, which I thought to be odd. And it wasn't the first time that she had sent me a payment through Zelle. So I thought, I'm not sure why this is. And I honestly still don't know. But then I got to thinking about it. And, I have, as I mentioned, used Zelle both for business and personal. I can't 100% say with certainty that every time the funds have been there within minutes.
Because
I'm
you're not
getting
checking every time, right?
well, right, not immediately.
Right.
I'm getting those text notifications near immediately, but I'm not actually verifying when a transaction posts. So in this case that I'm describing, it was sitting there in pending status within my account, but pending. And then it appeared not to post for 2 days after it was initiated. So it's just something, I wasn't alarmed. It wasn't like I was waiting for some, huge
Big
payment or
wire
anything.
transfer, right?
Exactly, exactly. But, I just thought it was a bit unusual knowing what I know about Zelle, but who knows?
You think it was because it was weekend days?
Well, that would be a natural assumption. But now, again, the whole premise with instant or real time payments is
Mhm.
that they can happen 24/7, 365,
Right.
which, again, is another reason why it's a great tool to use because you're not having to wait and work around weekends and holidays.
So I
So,
can remember, this was already now a few years ago, my daughter who lives in a different state had her purse robbed and she had no money. And so she called on a Sunday morning, and Zelle would have been great for that. My husband had to run out to Western Union
oh, sure.
to send her some money, and I mean, she got it. But I guess it would be kind of upsetting to think that you could Zelle it and then she still couldn't get the cash right away.
Yeah, so it would be interesting next time that I know someone's initiated a payment to me is going to be something that I look to see how soon does it actually post.
Right.
And the other question that's come up, I mean, you brought up your daughter, which would be a good example that a lot of, I don't want to say it's all the young generation, but
Right.
that
Right.
Venmo is very popular, especially
Yes.
among the younger set.
Mhm.
And, I'll never forget, in the past, I had paid a nephew through Venmo, and that was working well. But one time when I needed to pay him, I said, do you have Zelle? It would be so much easier, at least for me, as someone who looks at bank accounts regularly, as I know
Mhm.
you probably do too. If you're
Mhm.
online looking at your bank accounts, I
Mhm.
thought, why not just send the payment through Zelle? Then I don't have to go out and log into the separate Venmo app to make the payment. So he got set up and we did that. And then I was told that he really did prefer Venmo.
Did
And
he know?
and I'm thinking, what difference does it make? Because the money still, it actually gets there more quickly, unless you're doing an instant transfer route in Venmo. But the money is still, fast or near immediate. But there's something I don't know about maybe the graphics, the fun. I don't know what it is, but
I know. But which one of them can you share that you made these payments on social media? Which
well,
it's
Venmo,
oh,
Venmo,
Venmo, which I
yes.
would never do.
No, I know. Exactly. I mean, I'm
That's an
able
age thing.
for some of the young people that I have paid, birthday gifts or whatnot, I can see when I go in to do those Venmo transactions that, oh, they've paid for pizza or they've paid someone for gas. I'm like, okay, who cares?
Right.
I
Right.
shouldn't say that. It's important to some people. But I mean, truly, when it comes to coming back to Zelle, I mean, it's very easy to get set up. Again, I helped my mom do
Mhm.
this, and it's a very quick process, and it's all right through your bank app or the website or both. And it's just a matter of connecting your contact information and account right to the whole Zelle process. And the other thing to point out, I believe, and again, it might vary by FI, that you could even set yourself up so that you only receive payments.
Okay.
Um,
Right.
so you're not necessarily signing up to send and receive. You can designate which one you want, but that'll vary. Again, I can't be speaking for all thousands of FIs.
So, you just brought up another point, or it went through my mind. So, one of the big issues with electronic payments in the corporate world is the fact that sometimes there's not a lot of information that can go along that the company who's receiving the payment can use for cash application purposes. Um, is there much information? Like, can you put a little memo in when you
Yeah,
send?
That's a great point. So, yeah, whether you're doing it as a consumer or a small business, there is a space to enter what the payment is
So I
for.
could put invoice 12345, or I
Correct.
could put happy birthday, Lynn.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and again, I'm assuming that that's across the board, but it might vary by institution. But Mary, you raised another point. Now, if you are using this in a small business setting, we were talking about documentation earlier, or the
Yes.
fact that you
Right.
don't really need any. It's possible that a small business paying another small business will still then ask the payee to provide a completed W-9,
Yes. Oh, yeah.
for their records and their master vendor file.
Yeah, because to be clear, Zelle is not a credit card payment, so you cannot rely on the financial institution taking care of the 1099 reporting for you.
Right.
You're still on the hook for it.
Right. If it applies.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. If it applies. Good point, Lynn.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So Lynn joined us about a month ago to discuss how to protect your Zelle account. So to make sure that you don't get hit with any Zelle fraud or Zelle scams. You really should watch that now. She was quite informative. A link to it is in the show notes below. On YouTube, links will appear to it momentarily, or maybe they already appeared, probably. As always, I greatly appreciate those thumbs up, those comments, those shares, and those subscribes. Good luck, everybody.